is good, Guardians? Soldier Only here from Sports Nerd Web, back and better than ever with a new episode of Destiny Unplugged. As I said yesterday on the new episode of Sports Nerd Web Weekly, we were getting our internet switched over, so there wasn't any new content for a little over a week. But like I said, everything is fitting back into its regular schedule. So with this new episode of Destiny Unplugged, we actually have a ton to get into. First things first, as in yesterday's episode of Sports Nerd Web Weekly, we went over some of the patch notes from the meta change. So what we'll be getting into right now is the TWAB this week at Bungie for February 16th, 2017. This one is actually from Cosmo. This week at Bungie, we tuned the sandbox. The long-awaited hotfix 2.5.0.2 arrived Tuesday morning and shook things up. If you haven't gotten up to speed yet, you can read the full patch notes there at bungie.net. With the update out in the wild, we have been roaming the internet in search of the community's reactions to the changes. As it always is, the response has been violently mixed. In Destiny, we fight for our lives with energy and ballistics, but changing the way all that works is the most dangerous game. Some players are loving the way the update feels. Others like a lot about the update, but have some specific criticisms of what could be better. Then there is the crowd who thinks, and then it's censored. And just as a side note, I also I don't read these TWABs before I record it, so I'm actually reading this for the first time as I record these episodes. So we respect everyone's opinion, and we realize that change is always hard. We want to know what you think now that you have the controller in your hands and are adapting to the new hotness. Our feedback forum is open for business, and we have a thread dedicated to collecting things specific to the 2.5.0.2 hotfix. So if you haven't yet, get out there and fire off a few shots. Tell us what you think. Target acquisition. This is the Bungie bounty. Our Bungie bounty days came to an end last week. 21 targets gave a great chase through the Crucible. Over 1,200 emblems were awarded. We spread the love across the globe from Germany to the UK and even down under in Australia. We are not finished. This has been so much fun. We are making it a weekly event. This week our first target will be lollipops. We heard a lot of feedback that many of you weren't able to join in on the hunt due to work, school, or mandated community service. To give more folks a convenient time to try to match against your target, the next bounty will happen on Saturday. So yeah, it looks like the Bungie bounty will be lollipops tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific. The region is New Zealand, and it's going to be on the PS4. Let's see, Spring Flings. In a few weeks, spring will be in the air. We're planning to leave the shelter and security of our studio to get some fresh air, soak up some sunshine, and maybe even meet you. These will be strictly social calls for us, not reveals. We're hitting the road to move among the community. Looks like Emerald City, Comic-Con, PAX East in Boston, and so that's pretty much it for the TWAB. Nothing really, the TWAB is just pretty much nothing really, just pretty much saying that we've been paying attention to your criticisms of the update, and pretty much, saying that you can go to the feedback forum here and, give more of your impressions from it. I have played a little bit of it. I mean, I haven't played a lot of the Crucible. I've still just been mainly doing like a lot of PvE, but from like what I'm mostly seeing around the community, like a lot of people are saying, that auto rifles didn't really receive that much of an increase, and as I said, like I was using auto rifles in the Crucible, but I was still getting, like I said, melted by hand cannons, double and triple tap. So yeah, it definitely has changed things. You're not getting killed by shotguns, 9 out of 10 times. So it is nice seeing different weapons being used in the Crucible, but I'm just gonna have to spend some more time with it, until I kind of get used to it, because I've literally only played maybe an hour or two of Crucible since the meta change. So I definitely have a lot more testing to do with it. And then this other news here. This is actually really cool. I've always been a huge fan of McFarlane's action figures, and recently he confirmed and unveiled that McFarlane and Bungie have partnered up to create a new line of Destiny Guardian action figures. IGN exclusively revealed the first look at the figures, which are set for a release this July, each retailing for a suggested price of $19.99. And here is the image that they that came with the unveiling, and these are awesome looking. Check these out. Let me find it here. Yeah, right here. And as you can see, there's a Warlock, Titan, and Hunter. It's got the King's Fall gear set Warlock with the Vault of Glass Titan and the Iron Banner Hunter. These things are amazing looking, and for the suggested price to only be $20 is a phenomenal deal. Like I said, I've always been a huge fan of McFarlane's figures. Their attention to detail is always just amazing, and I just love their figures. It also says here that McFarlane will be introducing an initial wave of toys that features the Guardian classes, Titan, Hunter, and Warlock, which will all come in window box collector packaging, featuring a Destiny branded base. And as part of this partnership, McFarlane will create these figures as well as more 10-inch figures and role-play items. So that's awesome that he's going to be doing some of the bigger 10-inch ones as well. This is a quote from Todd McFarlane himself. Detail, depth, and customization. That's what Destiny gives its players, and that's what made it the biggest new video game franchise launch. With our upcoming Destiny line, fans can expect that same amount of detail and customization that we have built our own reputation on. So and as I said, they're supposed to be coming out in July. There's not a specific date. That's all we know for now, is July, for a suggested price around $19.99. So stay tuned to the channel. I'll stay on this and keep you updated once we get for sure date on it. And lastly, I normally don't really talk about, I speculate about things on on this show, but I kind of don't really get into the really heavy rumor stuff. But I just think this is an interesting article I found. This is from Game Rant, and it was actually it's actually just this article that it's actually from a Reddit post that a Redditor put out, and it was rumored that Destiny 2 is going to be titled Forge of Hope, will release for PC. According to, like I said, I normally don't like getting into this, but I just wanted to mention it on this episode, in case you guys haven't heard this, and you can just kind of form your own opinion and kind of do your own speculation about it. According to an anonymous leaker on Reddit, the follow-up to Destiny will use an all-new engine and is set to launch on PC as well as current-gen consoles. And before I read the rest of it, there's also an update on this article. It says Bungie marketing director and writer Eric Osborne took to his Twitter to refute the report of Destiny 2 being titled Forge of Hope, writing Forge of Nope. So obviously Bungie has already said that this is not the case. So it's no secret that Bungie plans to launch Destiny 2 before the end of 2017. But beyond that release window, we don't know much at all about the hotly anticipated sequel. Now, an anonymous leaker has delivered a treasure trove of information about the project, which reportedly comes from a source inside the studio. Of course, given the questionable legitimacy of this report, all these details should be treated with skepticism for the time being. Still, it will be interesting to see whether any of this leaked information turns out to be true once Bungie decides to lift the lid on Destiny 2. With that being said, here's the lowdown as laid out by our anonymous leaker on Reddit. Destiny 2 will be subtitled Forge of Hope, as is scheduled to release somewhere between November 4th and November 18th. The game will apparently be available for the PS4, PS4 Pro, Xbox One, Project Scorpio, and PC. The franchise will uphold its exclusivity agreement with the PlayStation brand, but it's set to be cut down to 3 months from a full year. 3 versions of the game will be made available at launch: the base game, a special edition that features special in-game cosmetic items, and a super special edition that boasts those cosmetics and a scaled model of the Exo Stranger's Relic of Necessity. All versions of Destiny 2 will come with pre-order bonuses. In terms of the game itself, it seems that Bungie has been hard at work building a new engine from the ground up, which will apparently allow the studio to build and implement new content much more quickly. The plan is to release new themed events every month or two, in much the same way that Overwatch maintains a steady stream of new content. Just as a side note, this is what I'm really intrigued to see with Destiny 2 is Bungie's content delivery system with Destiny 2. That's what I'm really curious to see what they do. So when I hear this part of this speculation, pretty much, is what it is, rumor. I really hope that this part comes true. That they've been hard at work building a new engine from the ground up. Obviously, it's going to be on a new engine, but a new engine which will apparently allow the studio to build and implement new content much more quickly. So that would be awesome if they can do that. More substantial content drops will land each quarter, which the leaker compares to last year's April update. The first major expansion for Destiny 2 is already in development ahead of a fall 2018 release and will focus on the Vex, specifically the origins of Kaber and Praetor. The leaker also teases the game's storyline, noting that it will be set after the events of the Taken King. The Cabal launch an assault on the city, leaving the tower in peril, so Guardians are tasked with taking back the settlement. The player's showdown with the Cabal leader apparently takes place in a raid. Along the way, players will learn about the history of Marasov and the motives of the mysterious Exo Stranger. Finally, the leaker notes that established characters will be left behind when Destiny 2 makes its debut as a result of the new engine. However, the new character creation suite apparently has far more options than its predecessor. It's still too soon to determine whether or not this information is legitimate, but the leaker has already promised to return with more information about the spring update for Destiny, which will apparently release in May. Destiny 2 is scheduled to launch in 2017. So, yeah, like I said, take all this with a grain of salt. I'm sure, this is a lot, this does have a lot of information, speculation in here. But honestly, obviously, a lot of this is rumors that have already been going around for some time now, so some of it isn't really necessarily new. It just seems like someone just compiled pretty much all the rumors and put them into one. Before this though, I hadn't heard that rumored subtitle, Destiny 2 Forge of Hope, but as I noted at the beginning of this, someone from Bungie, already did come out on Twitter and say that that is not the subtitle to Destiny 2. But as it said in it, it is interesting to know, just to read stuff like this and just kind of form your own speculations. And then it's interesting to see what actually does come to fruition, once Bungie finally does start talking about Destiny 2 and finally start unveiling something. So. But yeah, that's going to do it for this week's episode of Destiny Unplugged. Hit that thumbs up if you liked the video. Sub to the channel for more content. You can follow me on Twitter at SportsNerd48. Keep up to date with everything on the channel. Thanks for watching, and we will see you next week.